We're back.
Yeah.
Took a little bit of a break over the Christmas holiday, but we're actually coming to you somewhat live on New Year's Eve.
It is
So,
New Year's Eve.
I'm Jared,
I'm Josh. Good to be here, brother.
and Happy New Year, future couple minutes from now. We didn't live stream because I just plain don't know how to do that.
Except you, Australia, because you're already there. I hope Australia's enjoying 2018. We'll be there soon.
Living in the future like you always
Absolutely, man.
are. Another reason why I guess that's probably best we took a break last week is I had some dental work done that what I've been preaching to anybody that would listen that I come into contact with this week is please don't neglect your teeth like I did. Not going to the dentist for 10 years isn't a good idea, but that's what happened to me, and that's what I did. So I had to have a crown on 21, 28, and one up here. I forget which number
I don't
it
know
is.
what number it is.
But it's the same way with everything that I always do is, there's no need to go to the doctor until it hurts, and then by that time usually it's too late to prevent anything. And I thought I had done all the right stuff. I thought I did all the stuff that back when I was going to the dentist that they told me to do. It's like I flossed every day, I've mouthwashed every day, and that wasn't enough apparently. So I had my 3 crowns done, and because I'm just that much of a freak, I had to Google I've been told about crowns my whole life. I didn't really research and knew quite what it was. It's essentially, I'll go ahead and lay it out for you, because right now I don't know the total difference between a crown and a veneer. I think there's more of your tooth left on a crown than a veneer, but essentially it's like, and I totally get the whole fear of needles now. I always thought that was a lame ass phobia, but when they start going in your mouth, I'm like, I get it, brother.
I can totally dig that.
So you get numbed up, and you're kind of like, surely the worst is over. No, it just started. You're numbed up, and whatever tooth is being done is the top is like filed down to what's essentially like a Lego piece. And then they make a new tooth to put on top of it, and so I should be good. I knew I had gum recession problems when I was going to the dentist a few years ago. I thought, well, if I just stay on top of it with my Listerine and flossing, then I should be good. But after a while, it started getting pretty nasty looking. I was like, okay, something has to be done about this, and that's what was done. And another thing that, I think it accelerated mine, and it's something, another thing that I'll try to talk anybody out of is I was a smokeless tobacco user for a while. And it wasn't even that long. It was like one of those kind of things, like going to baseball games in the summer. It was fun, and I found this product called Snus. It's a smokeless, spitless tobacco, and I was like, what? And the other thing that I'll tell you that some, people that tell you not to do this or that don't tell you is it tastes awesome. It's good. It was Snus Camel Robust flavor. Is essentially like I get the guys that have that Scotch flavor that they like. That's what it tasted like to me. It's the closest thing to like a Scotch that I could tolerate. That was really good. I think that accelerated a lot of my dental problems. So if you're doing that, please stop. Whether it's smokeless or smoking or spitting or whatever it is, doesn't matter. I thought, well, I just do it in the summer at baseball games, so I'm safe. But I think that probably took what problems I was going to have eventually and just hit the fast forward button on it, like super quick. So if you're doing that, please consider not. And I think that's probably enough of my soapbox.
Hey, it's cool, man.
Tooth talk. So
It's story time. That's
hopefully
what we do here.
hopefully I've scared you straight, brothers and sisters out there. Ain't it right, brothers and sisters? So that's what I've been dealing with, and I'll probably have some more stuff that I'll have to have done. And I'll do better on keeping my dentist schedule down and not canceling stuff, and then being like 10 years later, being like, I'm back.
Hey, good to see y'all again. Let's see what's going on in there. Woo!
So if you're neglecting your teeth, please don't. You know, you can. They say there's a link to oral care, to heart disease, and all these other things that I kind of, you know, I buy that stuff. It seems to make plenty of sense to me. So go get checked out if you think you got something going on.
Get your toofies looked at.
So
Can dig it.
that was my Christmas gift.
Oh, that sucks, man.
So, man, but yeah, man, it's a trip because got my mouth all numbed up. I remember in parts of the story that I should have. They got the teeth filed down, and I really had to concentrate on not freaking out because I'm just one of those guys. Like I think I was laying down in that position for so long, and it takes a minute to do 3 crowns. I knew it was going to be a problem. That's why I wanted to get it all done that day.
Yeah,
like
that makes sense, man.
That's one of the girls suggested. Like, "She, you want to do them all at the same time?" Like, yeah, because if I do one, I'm not coming back.
I'm not coming back. Yeah.
And it's just knowing what I have in store. Like, no, and this type of thing that I don't wish it on anybody, because there's a certain amount of torture aspect of what you have to deal with having something like that done, where you're laying down, you're like in this inverted position, and like this is your head down here, and just after a while you don't realize like how much you have to swallow, and like you lift up to swallow, you got hoses and stuff coming out, trying to concentrate, don't freak out, just breathe through your nose, you'll be fine. And the whole time I'm breathing through my nose, these drills are going on, and I'm seeing like this powder like puff going every once in a while, and I'm realizing, oh, that's me blowing all over my shirt. And so it's a trip that way, and but it's somewhat done. Getting there. So I thought about doing before and after photos, but even that was even too gross for me. Like, nobody wants to see that. So these were pretty nasty. You know, I don't. You know, I could. There are some people that I showed them to, but they were, you know, they'll just, if you ever meet them, they'll be like, yeah, they were gross.
They are long since dead. I had them killed.
So just best for you know, forget them. And so anyway, that's what I went through this past week. So that was tons of fun.
I haven't really done much of anything. I went to Ohio, and that was cool just because Ohio cold is different from Georgia cold.
No, next level.
Yeah, it's intense. I actually enjoy it a little bit better because the difference between Ohio cold and Georgia cold is the difference between Ohio hot and Georgia hot. It's the moisture in the air and how sick it makes you. Because Ohio cold will make you cold as crap, but if it's not windy, I mean, it's super cold, but as long as it's not windy, it's like, oh, this is kind of different, and the air's all crispy, and there's no rubbish in it.
Yeah.
But so that part was cool because it wasn't windy. I got real lucky, man. It was interesting. It was cool. Got to see my family. That part was awesome, and got to talk. Lots of Big Ten football. That was pretty cool. Big Ten really everything, because Big Ten basketball I really enjoy. It was interesting. I was telling my cousin that I kind of have the same affinity for the Big Ten and basketball that I do for the Pac-12 and football. Where, excuse me, I just kind of like all of them, and I don't think they really get as much love as they deserve. Which, you know, right now it's hilarious after the Pac-12 having such a bad bowl season, but it's never deterred me before. I've always liked the ACC, and we've had a couple of clunkers in bowl season. Still like it.
Yep.
What else have I been up to, man? I watched. I did go see Star Wars. We were talking about that earlier, and I won't regale you with a long review, primarily for what we talked about last time. I knew I was going to like it. I'm just that guy. I'm biased towards it. I knew I was going to dig it. But what I will say to you is what I was telling the man, and I think this is important because I wanted to watch as many different reviews as I could, and I read a couple. And all this is after seeing it because, again, it's kind of the same thing where if you know you're going to go see it, there's no need to read reviews. You're going to go watch it anyway. But after the fact, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, let's see. And it seems to me that for all the things that are in it that people don't like, and we had a couple of discussions. There's several things in it. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
that was okay, whatever. Could have done without it. Man, this is really not good. But overall, point blank, I loved it. I thought it was great. The more important element of that, like we talked about, is I think the if there is a defining issue, the split, it's Rey's parentage. Because people that want Rey obsessively to be a Kenobi or a Skywalker or somebody tied into the Star Wars Force family, those are the people that seem to have the biggest problem with it and don't like it. I am not one of those people. I hope it's true. I hope that we're getting a new character from out of nowhere. I'm more excited by that. And we were talking about it. The reason I'm so excited about it is because my biggest problem with the prequels, and this goes back to when I heard about the first one. Jared's known me this whole time. We've had this conversation multiple times. The biggest problem I had with the prequels was that they were Anakin Skywalker centric. I like the idea of the galaxy far, far away being a galaxy, and the time that was long ago being a time, as in
many
something.
characters are there on that universe. You're going to spend this much time with this
You
dude.
do not have to have a royal family. I'm very much cooler with just boom and expanding and going everywhere and covering all kinds of different characters. So we're still linked in with the Skywalkers, but if we're going to kick that down a little bit and if we're going to go in a different direction, I'm totally cool with that. But I was telling Jared, the thing that really occurred to me is I really think that is the key issue for people, because if it's got to be about Luke and Leia and Han, of course you're not going to like it. And the reason I say that's the key, I was telling the man again, if we get to the third one and we get the Kylo Ren, nope, I was kidding, you're my sister, if we get that scene, that's going to make me hate the third one as much as people hated the second one, which totally makes sense and is totally fair, because if that curveball comes along and turns me against it, then of course, if you're on the other side of the fence, you just got that curveball, and it could turn you against it. It's totally fair. That's why I think that's the thing that depends on what side you're on, because it makes. I get it.
As powerful as Rey is with the Force, if they were related, surely she would have sensed it by now.
I just like the idea so much better of just let the Skywalkers go. And that's our other thing. I'll mention this too. I was talking about an unintentional trilogy, because I like stuff like this, and it just seems to be very much a trend in entertainment, arts and sciences, just entertainment. Here is the unintended trilogy as I see it. Go Set a Watchman. If you haven't read Go Set a Watchman, at least read a synopsis to find out what it's about, and read enough to find out what the reveal is. Hail Hydra, Steve Rogers, a quote attributed to Steve Rogers, and The Last Jedi. These are all, mythos that people decide to deconstruct because Alan Moore did it once, so let's do it now. And it's there's nothing wrong with that. It's completely okay. It's totally okay to do these things. Except for I just have to put my opinion out there. I've told the man. I'll tell you guys. The Steve Rogers thing, the problem with it is not Steve being a bad guy or being Hydra. It's that if you didn't know, and I'm going to rub some people's faces in it because I had this real conversation. If you genuinely believed that was real, I don't know what to tell you. I cannot help you if you thought that was anything more than a cheap stunt to sell books. We talked about it earlier, man. Hail Hydra by Steve Rogers was embraced by people as the dawning of a new day, but Lady Thor was a cheap excuse to sell a couple of books. Well, one of those stories is still going on and the other one's not. There you have it. Thor is still a lady, and Steve Rogers' Hail Hydra was revealed, 2 issues later? And that was the problem with it, man. If you want to do it, if you really want to blow some stuff up and shake people up, that's a good way to do it.
Shock the people.
But you were cheap. And I thought it was obvious they were being cheap from the beginning. That's why I didn't like it.
My feeling as far as talking about Star Wars, that you are talking about Rey calling Kylo Ren a monster for killing Han Solo is going to mean more when it's like you didn't kill your father, you killed our father. And that's why I think that's going to end up. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I just thought, and that's something that you save for a third one if she's going to get to the point where she feels she has to kill her brother. And who knows if that's where they're going or not, but if it's straight up that her parents were nobodies, then that's fine too. I'm just kind of going with what they give us these days. So,
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I think obsessing over time wasted, and again, just the obsession with the family. I don't get it. It's not a big deal. But as far as the, you didn't kill your father, you killed our father. There's one of two ways they're going to go about it. It's either that way or the, you didn't even appreciate what you had. I never even had one of those. My father stuck me on a desert and sold me for a couple of dimes and then flew off into space. You had this father that fought like hell because he loved you, and you put a lightsaber through him. Either way you go, this is exactly what you said. Either one of those things that you do, you're totally fine. That's
why I never liked the idea of Luke being the father, because that's essentially the other side of that coin. Is like, well, he dropped her off and like, see ya.
I completely agree. Luke don't need no damn kids.
No.
Yeah, they don't. They just don't. Stop.
That makes sense.
Yeah, man. But in general, I really dug it. Well, not in general. I loved it. I thought it was great, but it's just because I don't know what the heck they're doing, and I kind of like not knowing what they're doing because I guess that was my thing. It's like I heard so much fussing about Force Awakens. It was just a reboot of A New Hope. Okay, so but this one's too different. Yeah. Wait a second now. You didn't like the remake.
Can't have it both ways.
Exactly. It's like, okay, so you didn't like A Newer Hope. And boy, you really obviously didn't like The Rebellion Strikes Out. Because that's the, man, I just think it's great. And I think that, I don't know, maybe they won't do this or maybe they will. I think it's fascinating that when you get the scene of the temple burning down and Luke putting his hand on R2's head, that's lifted from the first one. That is in Rey's vision. So why on earth do we keep hearing about dropped subplots and there's so many questions they don't answer? It's part 2.
Yeah.
What the heck, man? It's like, they might bring that might come back up.
Yeah.
Any question?
Don't tie up too many.
Oh my God! Any question you have, it possibly could get addressed. Yeah, dude. It's just like, man, let's not sweat over that too much, man. Come on now.
I didn't like pivotal, scene early in the movie where. So all of a sudden, Leia's like the most powerful Jedi that ever was. When you either kill her off because that actress is dead, and they had a perfect excuse and reason to do it, and then they didn't do it, and they dragged their feet. It felt like watching the movie, the worst chase movie in the history of the world, and she gets off her deathbed. Like, well, fine. But I still think it would have made more sense if she does the general purple hair death scene. That was Leia's.
I liked it better that way too, honestly. We were discussing the. I thought that the Superman Force scene was stupid. I love the idea of Leia getting Force powers. She's always had them. That's never been a secret. It's never been a secret. So, but you can do, like I told Jared, I was like the little stable boy pulling the broom over to himself was cooler than what Leia got to do. Yeah. So I thought it would have been neater to just pepper that in a little bit. And also we talked about it, man. Then blowing up the ship, it felt very Walking Dead. It felt very Glenn to me, and I hated. I've stopped watching Walking Dead because I just can't stand it anymore. But the Glenn.
Most people have.
Oh, dude! I told everybody, man. Oh man, Negan's so cool. Negan's the man. It was like anybody that liked that show before is done now. They're done because that character is so lame and so stupid, because it's basically like taking, you have this fan base and they love their show, and then it's like, we need Conor McGregor to be in the cast now, and then you expect those people to go with you. They're not going to do it. It's like, okay, this is stupid now.
I don't want this trilogy to become Death Watch. Oh, let's go see who they're going to kill off.
Yeah, well,
it's not what these movies are supposed to be.
More of the stuff we're talking about. That's the thing. If you can't let go of those old characters, find something else to watch. Because the idea that Mark and Harry and Carrie are supposed to be making these for 50 more years, I'm like, it's kind of cool. I don't know. I like it. I like the idea of new characters. I like bringing new people in. I like going in new directions. I'm very, very pleased with it, and I really hope that's what they're going to do.
You can do that, and just do it.
That is what they're doing, and that's my point. Is that folks keep whining about it. It's like, all right, man, I'm cool with it. I like it. What else was there that was particularly cool? Oh, the Carrie Fisher thing is just weird, because the deal is, when you're shooting Laura Dern going through that ship, Carrie wasn't dead then, so it's not like you knew. So I guess my point with that is, if you go and recut the ending to get Leia out of the movies because Carrie Fisher's dead, you're going to be doing it Rogue One style anyway. So all the complaints people have about her being foiled, they're just going to make a computer image of her. Well, that's what you're asking for if you're asking them to change the ending of that movie. I'm with you. I wish they had just written it that way to begin with. I thought the scene where they blow up the ship and she's floating through space was stupid and unnecessary, and like I said, it was way too Glenn. And also, it completely robbed Admiral Akbar's death of any weight.
Yeah.
And that stinks, because you can still have the scene, she just doesn't need to be in it. And I really like your idea of the ending being her doing because that was the ship like nuking the what was it called, the Dreadnought, I think is what they called it. That's my favorite special effect in any Star Wars movie ever. That was awesome because you cut all the sound. It was great. It looked like 2001. It was like Alien. I'm like, man, that's sweet. And then we talked about the opening, like the opening space scene. I loved because for a couple of reasons. One, that's my favorite stuff, and all the Star Wars stuff is the X-wings and B-wings. I like that stuff. That's why I like Return of the Jedi the best, because the one at the end of that was my favorite. The Lando and Nien Nunb was my favorite. The other thing I loved was, I thought, we talked about it earlier, you have the character, I don't even think has a line, but the bomber at the beginning who gets the remote and sets all the bombs off, and then you see the necklace, and then when they introduce the Rose character, that is one of the coolest tie-in introductions for any character ever, because immediately it's got like this emotional weight. I loved it. I'm like, God dang, that was sweet. That was one of my favorite things in it.
The Angel, I think, was it Angel or
could be
Hope? One, I think it's like Hope and Rose.
It could be
Angel and Rose.
I keep wanting to call her Hope because I know it's a 4-letter word with an O in it, and it's like, no, Hope is in New Hope. That's not it, and I always get it wrong. So thank you for telling me it was Rose, because I keep forgetting it. But that was something I thought was strange. I was telling the man, I'm a huge Finn guy. I think Finn is great. I think the tag team of Finn and Rose are great, and that entire story, and I get it. I know why they did it. We've talked about it. It's the kid in the stable. That's what that whole story was about, but it was still not good. And I'm like, man, for this to be such a bad part of this movie, I must really love those characters, because I did enjoy them. They were a neat little tag team, man. So it's like, okay, well, hopefully they'll get something better going forward. But I did think that Rose's introduction I just thought that was really cool. That and those types of scenes, that and Kevin Smith was talking on his review about the Luke Skywalker and R2-D2 scene, and man, he said it way better than I would. So if you haven't seen Kevin Smith review the movie, man, it's great. It's a really cool review. But man, when he gets to the thing about the scene with R2, I'm like, right on, man. That's totally it.
It's like the two characters that if they don't meet, we don't get through this whole journey and come back together to
it's the best.
Have another moment like that.
It was the best. I loved it, man. And it was like, they were talking, he talked a little bit about how the Chewbacca scene wasn't strong enough, and all you got was where's Han, and they never bring that back up again. But I think if you have Luke get the emotional ringer in every one of those scenes, then him and R2 is robbed of something. So it's I thought it was kind of cool to do that off camera. And also, 2:35, everyone's complaining about how long it is. You can't put everything in it. Yes. So to let those happen off camera and then give us that one, I thought was a good idea. I really loved that.
You don't need to see everything.
Yeah, oh yeah,
and,
I agree.
And part of me was thinking like, why would Luke ask that question? Shouldn't he already know? I mean, wouldn't he already felt that? But I just think, sometimes you just need to hear it, I guess. Yeah,
it's a good segue. It's good. It transitions you through a little your little fade. But man, there's something I'm forgetting. I know there's something else about it that I really, really dug that I know I'm forgetting. The scene at the beginning, the special effect. That's silly, but that's why I'm starting with those. I like the fact that I am completely confused. I couldn't give a care less about the parentage, but I'm completely confused about the link between Rey and Rey and Kylo. I love that. I like knowing that I'm going to have to go to the third movie and see what like Force twins are, because that's my whole thing with like Snoke. People are losing their minds over Snoke being dead. I'm like, okay, Snoke dies, then Luke magically dies. I would love to find out what that is, or if they might not be tied together at all, but it'd be really cool if they were. You can make that kind of cool. So we were discussing whether or not Snoke would come back. And Phasma, people are losing their minds over Phasma. I think Phasma's going to be back. I think both of us do. Yeah. And why not? Because, oh man, you saw Phasma die, man. It's just falling in that big old pit of fire. You mean just like Boba Fett did? And also, remember at the end of episode 1 where you saw 2 halves of Darth Maul fall down that thing and they still brought him back? Yeah. So Snoke will be a Force ghost. Still be it's whatever, man. It's like they can still do whatever they want to.
Leia saved me with her cocoon or Jedi cocoon.
Yeah, man. I really wasn't wild about that either. Just because I love the idea of Princess Leia getting to show off her Force stuff, but just any other way, I would have liked something else.
Yeah.
I'd have preferred something else. And I'm just totally with you. And I would have loved if the ending had been written for her to be like, "Up your butt, Joe Boo," to the Empire. And then Laura Dern. I mean, like, again, we didn't know. You didn't know you needed to keep Little Pace Fortune around to be that character, but. I don't know, man. It was, I know I'm forgetting something, though. There was something else about it that I really loved, like something positive. That's why it's driving me nuts that I can't remember what it was, because it was positive. Now, I'm hoping that the little kid, the little stable kid, I'm hoping we're going to get full-on Hogwarts and Star Wars and have a bunch of kids running around with lightsabers killing people.
Idea.
And it's whatever they want to do with that is cool. And I guess the main point there is, like we've both been saying to each other all day, I totally understand that was the point of the casino scene, that and the let's be vegans, stop eating animals, and greed is bad, and war profiteers are bad, and Donald Trump is bad, and
we get it. It was grim.
Well, the thing that we talked about that too, and my thing with that is, I am so tired of Marvel kids and Star Wars kids griping about, oh man, the porgs are just for kids. Oh, it's so silly. They're just placating to kids, and it's so funny, and they just make these jokes. It's just Disney trying to sell stuff to the kids.
What about me?
And then all of a sudden, when your movies that you want to grow up and start talking about politics and the military-industrial complex and, Food Incorporated, you don't like it. And don't get me wrong, I think that that's a very silly way to try to make your Star Wars movies more grown up, but that's the cheap way to do it. The first time, if you're in a rock and roll band and you're banging on pots and pans and all of a sudden you want to be taken seriously, good for you if a Republican's in office, because now you can write a political song. Isn't that right, Billy Joe Armstrong?
Oh, yeah.
And so, you know what I mean? That's the easiest way to do it, is I'm going to talk about politics now because I'm an adult. And it's like, don't beg for these things to be more adult-oriented and then get mad when they are. Now, you don't have to like what they did, just like the Force thing. I love Leia doing it. I just wish it was anything but that. So if you want them to grow up but not be politics, I get it. But if they're going to grow up, we're running that risk. It's like, shoot, I hate what they picked, but that's the price you pay.
But the thing I liked dealing with the Force in this movie was just the fact that they just came out and said that this Force is the Force. It's not light or dark or good or bad. It's what you want it to be, and it's open to anybody and everybody. It's not something you're born with just because you're a Skywalker.
Yeah, that's the thing I like too, and it's the reason that people continuously saying, oh, it's cool, the Force is accessible to everybody, but she better be Leia's kid. It's like, okay, I mean, if you want both those things, I get it. But the part I don't understand about that is, I didn't think I thought it was a reset. Because if you listen to Ben Kenobi's first definition of the Force,
it's pretty much right.
That's pretty much what they said it was. It was,
it's not too far from binding us and flowing through us, and holding us together.
Yeah, connects all things. He does go specifically to say it's the source of Jedi power, but it's everywhere. And that's the other thing too, man. It's like, okay, if it's just Jedis, then why does Han Solo talk about it?
Mm-hmm. I've seen it do some shit.
Yeah. I've never seen anything.
Turn you white.
It's like, man, I think that's cooler. And also, that's the other thing, man, is that the idea, I was talking to my friends one time about the thing that I enjoyed the most about Game of Thrones until I got deeper into it, is that it seemed like the main character of Game of Thrones was going to be Westeros. A setting as a main character is a brilliant idea.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. So the idea of the galaxy, the time, and the Force being the main character is killer. I love that. I genuinely love that. I think that's really cool. So I don't know,
that's
man.
where you could go with the next trilogy and talk about making new characters and going on doing something new. Like that's the way to do it. Get away from them.
Well, the man can tell you that, unfortunately, is what I was hoping 1, 2, and 3 would be.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping that the prequels would be about 6,000 years before anyone knew what a Yoda was.
Yeah.
I just think it's cool. Knights of the Old Republic and all that kind of stuff, man. You don't have to tie it to anything that we've seen before. I think that's cool.
Still very well could happen.
And I agree. I think hopefully that's
these prequels.
where we're headed, man. Yeah, anything.
More prequel-y than the prequels.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. That's one of the cool things about the one-offs, too, man. It's not everything. I understand anything you do trilogy-based is going to come back to Anakin somehow, But the idea of the one here, one there, sprinkle, dude, that's cool, man. Because we talked about that earlier, man. The only Star Wars movie that's ever made it to the screen that was not intrinsically linked to the Skywalker family is everybody's favorite. It's possible. The people really loved Rogue One, man, and it's not that the family's not in it. They're adjacent because their story starts right after it, but they ain't in that story.
Yeah.
There is no Solo in that story. It's pretty cool.
Well, I knew people that when the prequels were coming out, they wanted Luke and Leia to show up in the second one. I was like, no, I want them to be the very end of the last one.
See, that was me with Kenobi and Yoda. I wanted Ben Kenobi to be a character that shows up out of nowhere at the end of the third one, and then that's what I wanted. I was like, that's where I was at. It was like any character that we had heard of, you might pick up with them at the very end. But also, and it's kind of weird because, like I said, my favorite stuff is the space stuff. But for prequels, apparently all I wanted was Jedi, 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 Jedi. Just none that anyone had ever heard of before. But I keep going back to the Obi-Wan prequel, which I do hope they do. I hope that's more than just a rumor because I think that Ewan McGregor deserves better. Obi-Wan Kenobi damn sure deserves better because he was treated like crap in those movies. And also, I'm hoping that they can work out a deal and like financially and come up with a script that Liam Neeson will say yes to, because it'd be really neat to see that guy again, because that was such a cool character that just it's like, man, if all you're doing is just digitally manipulating my face in every scene, you can do that without me. And that's why he never showed up in any of the rest of them, man. It's like, that would be cool though. I would dig it, but I'm just with you. I like that the midichlorians have gone away. I like that the virgin birth of Anakin Skywalker doesn't mean anything. I like that we're going other places, because then it's exactly what you're saying, man. For the future, now you can go any direction you want to, and you don't need any reference whatsoever. I love that. I hope that's what's going to come from it. But ultimately, I sat in the theater for 2.5 hours and loved it and can't wait for the next one. That's really all I care about. And that's ultimately where we were talking about this, man. I had this same conversation. This will transition into college football, but I'll make it quick. No matter how much you hate Luke being crazy and old and weird, and because the one thing I heard, the argument that I heard about that was, why would he leave directions to find him? You know, if you got to restart the rebellion, come find me. It'll be okay. And then you get there and he's like, I'm old, leave me alone. And it's a great, funny question. I'm telling you, go Set a Watchman. It's going to sound crazy, but it's out there. Let me just ruin it for you. Go Set a Watchman basically is the story that says Atticus Finch joined the Klan and was this just horrifying racist after he got, I can't believe I forgot his name. Anyway, he goes to bat in the trial, and he's, the civil rights icon. But you know what that book's about. Everyone knows what To Kill a Mockingbird's about. Yeah. Basically, it's the deconstruction of the Atticus Finch character, where basically it's like, nope, he's a racist. He's just a racist piece of crap, and he's awful. And people didn't finish the book, so they never got the point. And it's an extreme way to make the point, and a shocking way to make the point, because that's how you sell books. But the whole point of it was that the idea was for Scout to stop pedestaling her father, for Scout to stop putting Atticus here and here and here and doing this, and for Scout to instead look down, look in the mirror, and realize her own worth. That was the point. Now you tell me that's not what Luke Skywalker is going to wind up doing as Force Ghost Luke the next time he talks to Rey. It had to be you. It's why I asked you 12 times, who are you? Why are you here? That was the point. You were the one that had to find me, and you had to find me, so basically I could tell you to F off, and then you won anyway.
You don't need me.
And you won anyway, didn't you?
You never needed.
Because you didn't need me. That's important. You didn't need me, you didn't need them, you don't need anybody, it's just you. That's pretty cool. And I really think that's where they're going to go with that one, man, is that's the whole point, is like you're never going to stop looking for me until you find me. And I tell you, go away. And then you did, and you won anyway. Yeah. Good job, right? So yeah, all that stuff is kind of cool. I am hoping very much that the Go Set a Watchman part of that unintentional trilogy is a little bit more pertinent than the Steve Rogers part, because I just don't want anything cheap. I think cheap is weak. Now, if we want to do a Lady Thor thing and do something, because they've already done a couple of, I don't think they're, controversial is not the word I would use, but when you have a fan base so passionate, anything you do that they didn't want, you'll hear about it forever.
Good Lord, yes.
Oh, it's the worst movie ever. It's the worst Star Wars movie ever, and I hate it. But are you going to go see the next one? Then Disney wins, and who cares? And that's my point. I've been going back and forth.
They bought my ticket.
Yeah, for real. I've been going back and forth about this with the college football playoff because it's so much fun. I got this one dude that I talked to on Twitter, and I'm keeping my replies because I'm going to get the numbers first. But the point is, he's just endlessly going on about how playoffs got to stay at 4. They'll never go to 8. They can't go to 8. They got to stay at 4 because the semifinals are bad anyway. And they're so lopsided. I mean, if you put more teams in there, the scores are only going to get worse. Well, if that really is your argument, then what you're saying is go back to the BCS. If the semifinals are already so bad and unentertaining, then get rid of them too, because you just want the 2 best teams going at it. That's not the problem, and it's not the issue. It's not about inclusion or political correctness. Everyone gets a trophy and everyone gets a shot at the title. That ain't what it's about. I've said it before. I will say it probably till I'm dead. How often pure invisible hand capitalism, visible hand capitalism is mistaken for political correctness is absolutely hilarious to me. Apparently capitalism is infallible until it means that girls and minorities are superheroes. Then all of a sudden, oh, here we go with the PC squad.
Wait.
It's called marketing. It's getting more people to come and buy tickets, and I'll prove it to you. Well, in the Last Jedi, all the girls are the heroes, and the boys are just bumbling and stupid, and they're all made to look bad, and the girls have to bail them out and save them. Well, that was Marvel Comics in the 60s the other way around, and every other, institution of storytelling since the beginning of time. But that's not the point. The point is, are the girl superheroes going to keep you from going to the next one? No, but they might bring people that had not been before in, and again, and again. That's the point. It's all about making money. If we could all just understand that, maybe we'd stop arguing over this stupid crap.
Merry Christmas.
And that's the thing with the 8-team playoff. It's not about getting everybody involved. It is about getting a national presence in the postseason so somebody outside of Georgia and South Carolina might actually tune in.
Yeah.
Because
a guaranteed of, 4 segments in the country.
This is how it
every
works.
year.
There's a reason that conferences are conferences. I want you to think about the places that these grounds cover. The SEC is right here. The ACC is basically the North. I mean, you've got plenty of teams down here too, doubling up in SEC country, but your exposure is the Northeast. The Midwest is the Big 10, the Southwest is the Big 12, and the West Coast is the Pac-12. That's the whole country. And if every one of those champions is guaranteed, then at least for the first round, you'll get people to tune in. It'll work. And I use the argument all the time, man. If ESPN is so confident in their playoff, why do they keep the broadcast rights to the Peach Bowl and the Sugar Bowl and the Orange Bowl and the Rose Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl and the Cotton Bowl? Because that's where those teams wind up. The ratings for the Cotton Bowl, USC and Ohio State, they'll be higher than anything going forward. I'd be shocked. I would be shocked if the Cotton Bowl is not more viewed than anything they got going forward. And the history's there. It's just there. So that's the point. It's like, I understand he's a Clemson fan, and it's like you've got your recruiting monopoly right now. I understand not wanting to let that go. But this is why you're going to have to. Nobody's watching. You're going to have to con people into watching this thing, and there's one of 2 ways to do it. You either go to Ohio State in the Big 10 point blank and say, you are the one guaranteed entrant into the playoff because you have got to have that Midwestern market. People don't think it's that big of a market. Ask ESPN if it's not that big of a deal, because the fact that everybody in that region turns their television off when Alabama's on, that shows up. Shows up. And when you ain't got New York, you better get everybody you can get. So you either guarantee the Big 10 they're going to be in every year, or you devise a playoff where the champion of every conference is in, or not every, but the Power 5 is in every year. I know which one of those is more realistic, especially when you look at the history of every other sport and the history of the world. They don't take games off the schedule. You don't take postseason games off the schedule. I mean, it's
steps back just don't happen.
It does not happen because that's fewer commercials. Just that's all you have to say. Just consider commercial airtime that you can sell for 8 games versus 4 games when those games are actually being watched.
Yeah,
makes a big difference. Notre Dame and Ohio State, I've said it before, it's the truth. It's the only times anybody watches the playoff is when they are in, and as soon as they're eliminated, they're gone. It's the reason Ohio State won the first one. It's the reason Notre Dame made the final. They should have learned last year. Ohio State Clemson got great ratings, and then Clemson beat the crap out of them, and that was that. People stopped watching. Like, oh man, I know you want to keep that monopoly, but it just seems illogical to me to not go with to not take the side of money, the side that's going to put more money in the pockets of people that run television studios. I'm pretty sure, I feel pretty confident they're going to go to 8, and that's why. But that's it's silly to make that parallel, but it's true. And that's the point. The point that I was making, tying that in with Star Wars, is if Rey's parents, if Rey being a woman, if any of the things that you hated about, if Leia's, Superman, Odell Beckham SWAT, that was great, by the way.
Yeah.
If any of these things are enough to make you not go to the next one, then they're problems. I don't believe you if you say they are. And the reason I say that is because I think for most people that if it is a legit thing and you're done, you're probably not talking about it. You've made your decision and you're at peace with it. So that's awesome. That's totally awesome. Football's the same way. Oh man, the semifinals, the quarterfinals would just be so terrible. God, the competition would be awful. So are you telling me that if they expand to 8 teams, you're going to stop watching? Because
That's just a bridge too far.
my guess is that everybody that's watching right now is going to keep watching. This is how you get more people to watch. That's the entire point. It's the entire point. And that's the problem is people approach that stuff like, well, this is what I want, so it's the way it should be. Try to think about it logically, and biologically, the one that's going to make the people with money more money. You're probably right. If you can find a way.
More is better.
It is for the folks that have it.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, if you can find a way to make those guys more money, and that's what you're putting your money on, you're probably going to win that bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Especially when the ratings are so crap right now. They just are. I mean, again, you have one region that doesn't care. The West Coast, they don't boycott it quite the same way. It's just, that especially we're talking about the LA market, man. I mean, you got to be a winner in LA to get attention. You just do. I mean, there's a lot to do there. There's a lot of other fun things to do. So if you're not Kobe, I mean, they turn off.
It's hard for me to relate to that lifestyle of seeing all the games over here so early, and I just can't. Until I go out there and at least spend some time out there or live out there, I wouldn't. Why should I watch the game? I got other stuff to do. Plus, the stuff is already over. So.
It's just that ubiquitous crossover thing just doesn't exist. I mean, I don't give a crap if Alabama wins the next 100 national titles, man. Los Angeles County's just not going to care. They just don't care. It's not like that. I mean, there is nothing in SEC country that anybody in Pac-12 country has any interest in giving you any money for. They just don't care. They don't care. So when you're up against it with the West Coast, the East Coast is an impossibility. The Midwest and the South are what have made college football what it is. It's just the truth, man. And I guess I should probably throw the Southwest in there too because of Oklahoma, but I don't know. I don't know if you'd consider Oklahoma Midwest or Southwest. I'm really not sure because Texas is so big it might be the Southwest. Texas. When I hear Southwest, I think Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. And really Arizona's more Pacific. But seriously, I don't know, man. That's it because it's Ohio and Michigan and Oklahoma and Nebraska, those places. I mean, there's not that many people there. No, you don't really get a market there. But that's people. That's who you need because the big markets that you're after don't care about you anyway. New York, LA, Chicago, they couldn't care less. They don't.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very interesting way to look at it, but I also don't quite understand the headbutting that people do. It's very weird. I had no idea that people wanted to cling to 4 so bad until I started tweeting with folks, and I'm like, man, this is interesting. But also, please keep in mind that all these people banging the drum for 4 are all CBS corporate employees. And I'm like, that probably has a lot to do with it because, I mean, if Daddy is telling you to say this, you better say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel kind of bad. I don't want to be – I try not to be too prickish in my replies.
Looking at Twitter feeds, too, if they see you saying something against not towing that company line, that could be bad for you.
Yeah, which is odd because it's like – I don't know. I just think that that's the point I try to make is like it's going to make more money. That means it eventually is going to be the law of the land. But anyway, Star Wars ruled. I loved it. I'm looking forward to going to see it again because I got to see everything. Everything I like, got to see it more than once. And I probably should have seen it the second time before I talked about it because I really do feel like I'm forgetting something that I really thought was cool. But I don't know. I think we covered it. I think we pretty much covered it, man. Like even the negatives I thought were good. But what would Rose and Finn? Because that story. Everybody's complaining about that story, and they're right. Because it's like, man, this kid really. There's no other way to do that.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. It was cool though, just because I liked them so much. It was just a strange. If it reminded me of the Obi-Wan Camino stuff in the second Star Wars, which was so horrible. But all that Rain Planet crap where Kenobi's doing his detective work and finds out about all the Boba Fett. I loved that. I just thought that was cool, but mainly just because I liked that character.
I heard somebody make a really good point about Finn, and it may have been in the same Kevin Smith review. It may have been in another podcast I was listening to. I don't remember who to give credit to, but for some reason Finn wakes up, as you know you always do in Star Wars, in your underwear and in water, and he has to get away. But this whole time the First Order is tracking the lead ship in this caravan. Wouldn't it make more sense, and at least make this a little bit, the storyline between Rose and Finn make a little bit more sense, as if maybe they're tracking the freaking stormtrooper that you let on your ship, and that's why he feels he has to get away to protect Rey and do all this stuff. Maybe couldn't it make a little bit more sense to have them be tracking him, something they implant in all these kids that they steal? Just a little thing like that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it would. That's a quick fix too. It's not like you need 20 extra minutes of exposition. That's cool. I like that.
Then and I guess that's another thing that makes people kind of bummed about that story with Finn and Rose, is that you spent that much time doing something that didn't work, and that's kind of the Star Wars ways, especially in the second one's like, yeah, they gotta lose, but I guess the thing that I was surprised to see, I was expecting Benicio to be in the Walker thing that was shooting all the stuff, and then it turned out to be BB-8.
Me too.
Then when it turned out to be BB-8, I was like, you know what? I like that better.
I agree completely, because my whole thing was like, okay, this flip-floppy swervy thing. First of all, Benicio del Toro's character was Benicio del Toro's character was literally, we have got to get something Rogue One adjacent in this movie. So they literally took the only character they didn't shove in Rogue One and put him in there, because he's dirty and scrappy and resourceful, and it was literally a tip their cap to everyone's new favorite Star Wars movie. I thought all that was pretty weak, but I was the same way. I genuinely thought that's what it was going to be, and then when it was BB-8, it's like, oh, thank God, not another new character, which is messed up. But I like the new characters we have. Let's do it. But it's like, no, that works. Okay, cool. I had the exact same reaction, man. Totally.
And you have Finn, a former stormtrooper, who, at least, even though he doesn't know all of their secrets, helped him get into the bomber thing.
Yeah, the logic of that was super cool. Yeah.
At the end of Force Awakens, like, why couldn't he do it again with this thing? But it's stuff that I think after the fact it could come back, like, we could probably, when they special edition this one, they'll make it a lot better.
Well, I think the problem with Finn not just busting out and doing that thing is Benicio del Toro's big paycheck. We got to give him something to do. I'm just with that character was completely unnecessary. Yes. There was very little in there that needed to be in there, and it was a huge time waster to have the guy at the casino, and then it's like, no, wait a minute, but this is the guy you needed the whole time. It's just like I'm just with you on that storyline. That was definitely my least favorite part of the movie.
They thought that storyline out better, than you don't give Benicio the check in the first place.
That's my point. It's like, since you did, though, it's like I think I'm totally with you. I would have loved for that to have been handled differently, because it's just, I don't know, you just don't need all that stuff. But that was but again, these characters are cool, so all that was good. I do think I don't think that Princess Leia is Superman, and Finn and Rose's bogus journey. It's certainly not enough to have people squawking and pulling their hair out over how much they hated it. I didn't think it was that much of a big deal. And also, like I said, man, it's just, I really do like these guys, because despite how much I disliked that, I can't wait to see what they get up to next. Like, okay, cool.
I'll be there.
I'll give you another one I thought was real cool. Another scene. It's not nearly as good as Luke and R2, because that was awesome. I'm just a moron, and it never even occurred to me. But when you get to the end of the movie and Poe and Rey introduce themselves to each other, it had never occurred to me that this is the first time that they've seen each other. I thought that was super, just a cool little thing. Like, oh, that was neat. Hadn't thought about that.
Yeah,
it's pretty sharp, man.
It's kind of, the Force isn't just lifting rocks, and what does Rey have to do to help clear the way?
That was a good joke. I liked that one. I thought that was cool, man.
I don't think I liked the crystal wolves or whatever they were that were just like. But it's nitpicky stuff, man. It's always gonna. That's what started the internet in the first place, I guess.
Yeah, with that and naked celebrities.
Oh yeah.
One more thing, because I know we're running long, man. But I thought that Luke's showdown with Kylo was fantastic. I loved it. I thought it was very cool. I liked it that it wasn't really him. I thought that was cool. I mean, they had already made the point about how you're not projecting all the way out here, it would kill you.
Yeah.
And then Luke Skywalker does it, and it does kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it. I thought it was very cool. And I'm looking very forward to Force Ghost Luke. I'm hoping that the people that were disappointed in old weird Luke Skywalker will get more of what they wanted with Force Ghost Luke. Now, if what you want is him lightsabering everybody to death with, Darth Vader style in Rogue One, which was, I think we've discussed it probably on the show before, that really was the scene in that movie that took me out of it. I really like it. And it's that same thing where anything that's not referential to crap that came before, I liked. All the new stuff I was cool with, but God, Darth Vader again, that was just kind of where I got. And I just thought that scene was hammy and stupid. I think like calculated and smooth is much cooler. Mm-hmm. Like Luke doing this little Jay-Z brush his shoulder off thing, and I thought that Snoke throwing Rey around the room was very cool because there was no animation, and I like that kind of stuff better. Mm-hmm. I thought that Darth Vader just smashing people and killing them would have been awesome, but you've got to be like crazy, stupid. Not my thing, but it's a taste thing, and that's okay because that's one of Kevin Smith's reviews, because he loved that scene and wasn't wild about the crap that I like, because he thought the Luke thing was a little silly, and what he was saying was it should have really been him, and I disagreed.
Die more violently.
I don't know if he wanted him to go full on Kenobi. I don't know if that was the plan, if that was his idea for the end of the scene, for him to go straight up Kenobi and let Kylo kill him. But I think that would have been stupid, because then, like you said, it's just Kylo's body count then, because he already did it in the first one.
And I had to kind of watch like a little, I guess. I needed to hear it again, because the first time I was watching the movie, I didn't hear the line that he said, but he did. Basically, tells him, "See you around, kid."
I could not believe that nobody reacted to that. Nobody's commented on it. Nobody has said anything. It's kid.
Yeah.
It's literally what this guy's dad called him for 3 movies. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was awesome. I thought that was so cool, man.
So that's
sorry.
Pretty telling that he's at one with the Force, but you're seeing him again. He'll see Rey and Kylo both again, I'm sure. So that's
Force Ghost Luke, and I don't know if the Sith call it the Force or not, but we'll call him Force Ghost Snoke. They'll be back. Mm-hmm. Why not? It's gonna be cool, and I do hope Phasma's back. I would love it if Phasma was like just a product.
I really liked the Snoke is. I thought his tongue hanging out dead on the floor was a little bit too far.
It was stupid. Yeah, that was oh my god.
Okay, we know, but I like the Kylo Ren Spaceballs moment. She did it.
Yeah, that was cool. I like that. That was something. We talked about that. That irked me, like the super swerve and how quick it was. It's like, make it just decide, y'all. Yeah. And I guess the problem was, again, I really would have liked it if they had done it. It's so stupid because I'm like making it sound like The Hobbit now. Mm-hmm. I wish that Last Jedi was a part 1, part 2, because it really feels like about a 4.5 hour movie, because people are endlessly fussing about how long it is, and then about how rushed it feels. And they're right, it does feel at 2:40. I think it was 2:40. I think. And it did feel rushed, so I'm like, man, I would have loved it. This could have been. I mean, I get it. It's trilogies. I get that. That's cool. But you've talked about
one of those Return of the King kind of endings on it, where it felt like it was building up to one thing that not that. Well, and built up again, like not quite that, but then didn't at the end. Kind of like, well, now what do we do?
I got that Return of the King feeling as well, but I got it from the Finn and Rose story, because it's just like, okay, wrap this thing up. Just because it was like, and they just keep falling, and it's like, come on, get where you're going. But yeah, then I thought, Leia standing in the ice doorway and all that. So I like that. I'm with that was like the whole big act, and I don't know. I liked all of that stuff. I thought that was quite cool. Yeah, made me happy. And I am concerned. My only concern about Princess Leia going forward is, like you said, if they go full on Glenn and do like, oh well, she's dead for real this time. It's like, we'll see. We'll see what you do.
Opening crawl to whatever the third one we call it. Princess Leia died.
Yeah, seriously. That's what it's called, Star Wars. Princess Leia's dead.
Star Wars. Now we're cheapening to death.
Yes.
We're cheapening to Death Watch.
For real, man. Death Watch is one less now.
I want to see the blood.
For real. Yeah, man.
So, man, that's what's up.
It is totally what's up, man. And it was awesome and fun. And the show was awesome and fun. Appreciate it, man.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all.